what is that? That is part of my yarn stash. That is scrappy scraps. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with them. Yay! Okay, so I wanted to show you some pretty nifty tricks that you can do. So with a little ball of yarn like that, and you start working on it, it rolls all over the place and just, it will aggravate you. It'll fall off into the floor. So here's a couple of things that you can try. So there's just a regular old butter container, and you can tell how old that is because the way it's shaped. You just poke a hole in the top of it, pop that yarn down in there. Where's the end? Thread that through that hole, pop the lid on. So now you don't have to worry about that yarn rolling out of your lap and rolling all over the floor for the cat to get. All right, here's another idea. This might be the easier of the two. Just get you a little handy basket, put your yarn over in there, and then just thread the end out through a hole like that. So that's another way you can control your yarn. And you can buy these online, but this was custom made for me. See? Cozy Joe. And what you do, you put the yarn in there, and then you thread it around this little loop-de-loop here. And that way the yarn is contained. So these are the thread scraps that yarn scraps that I chose. I use a lot of red in my kitchen. So I'm making a granny square Hotpad with red as my main color, and then the black and the gray and variegated for the contrast colors. So let's see what we can do with these scraps. So what I've kind of planned out in my head is I'm going to make a granny that grew, so that this can be the back of my work. This is just some scrappy, yucky old yarn, but that's one of my favorite things to do, is take yucky yarn and make it into something beautiful. Alright, so I'm going to go through the first part of this with you because there's something I really wanted to show you. This is a size I aluminum crochet hook. So let's start. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that going to be big enough? We'll go with 10. I don't know, 10 is just a good number to start with. So I've chained 10, and I'm going to pull it around and join it with a slip stitch in that first chain to make a loop. Get that tail out of the way there. Okay, and this is just a granny that grew pattern. I'm just kind of winging this off the top of my head, so we'll do it together. All right, so for our first double crochet cluster, we're going to chain 3. Now, remember that tail right there? Remember me telling you in the granny square video previously that there's a way to hide that tail yarn? And this is something you want to learn to do with all of your work. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold that tail around the edge of that, around the back of your loop there. See how I did that? Let's show that again. Okay, see the tail yarn's just going out that way. You're going to fold it under and just hold it against the back of that loop, and you're going to, in the direction that you're going to be working. And as you work, you're going to hide that underneath your double crochet. So let's look at that together. Excuse me. Let's look at that together. All right, so I need to make 2 double crochet. So I'm going to yarn over, go in through my loop. See that tail yarn there? I'm just going to pull up a yarn over the top of it. See? And complete my double crochet. All right, so now you can see that tail yarn, I'm going to work all my double crochets in my loop. I'm going to hide that tail in there as I work my double crochets. All right, let's do one more in that cluster. I hope that made sense. If it doesn't, just put some questions there in the comments. All right, so we have one double crochet cluster completed, and you can see that I'm hiding that tail yarn underneath there. So I'll show you what that looks like when I work all the way around. Okay, so here's my granny that grew. And I did, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. And that's just the granny square pattern that I gave on my previous video, and it just kept going. And you can make afghans that way. Just keep it growing, and there's your afghan. Okay, so I'm going to fasten this off. That just means I'm going to cut my working yarn. I'll show you. So you just cut that. Every time you cut your yarn, leave at least a 6-inch long tail so you can work that back in. And you're just going to yarn over and pull the thing all the way through that loop, and that forms a little knot. And we will work that into the work